Okay, websites then. We all know what the basis of a website is. It is essentially a one-stop shop of your organization and is the face of your organization, as it were, in in the online world, on the web. A good website therefore should have it should be well designed. It should have a good feel. These are self-explanatory. The colors must be well aligned and well designed. It must be easy to use. It can't have too much cluttered information. Human beings are visual, so we would see things in it. Well, how we would perceive it would be primarily visual as opposed to reading the exact text of a website. You must have a call to action. It can be something as simple as contact XYZ telephone number, or send an email, or send a tweet to Twitter or Facebook message to XYZ organization. It must have something to encourage people to sustain the relationship, to be engaged. It must also translate the utility of the product. By utility, I mean the usefulness, even the happiness that a product can bring. Take for example a car. If you're a car firm and you're selling a car, you don't necessarily say, well, this car goes from 0 to 60 in XYZ seconds, or this car has two airbags, or this car has Tiptronic as well as traditional manual. Those are the features. By emphasizing utility, you would say, well, this car has a good safety record. This car is good for families, is good for single people, is good for your corporate fleet. The fuel consumption is low, so you'll save less money. Um, this car was rated by an international organization, for instance, as a safe product. You would translate what benefits this product will bring to the average consumer, and it should be essentially your central hub of activity in the online sphere. It should be, therefore, as stated, your one-stop shop of comprehensive information afforded to all of your customers on the World Wide Web. Essentially then, all firms, whether large or small, need a website. I believe in the world we live today, in the contemporary world, it's imperative that any organization has a website. Otherwise, people will not take you seriously. There probably are some cases where you may not need one, but I think those are very, very small in the modern world. At the very least, you probably would need a social media presence as opposed to a bona fide website, as it were. Nevertheless, you have to have some kind of online face, and a website is probably the best means to convey that to others. And also, it's the best portal for dissemination and display of content. Social media can do this, but not the same way as a website. Email can via list, but not in the same manner. A website perhaps is the best means to utilize good content. Email marketing is very similar to social media in its basic functions. Email marketing should not really be spam, but it creates engagement again in a very similar fashion with your customers, and it makes them feel part of the organization's efforts. Common forms of email listings would be newsletters, promotions, technical points, and general points of interest. To be fair, not many companies presently in Trinidad and Tobago use email lists. Most digital in Trinidad and Tobago would be via social media or the web. Nevertheless, there is greater scope, and generally with email, it's best practice to have some kind of opt-in, in that you can ask people if they want to sign up or give them permission to sign up. This also averts badgering of consumers, which obviously will turn them off, and also engenders goodwill and engagement. You don't want people to see your company or your organization as somebody who tries to badger or pressure people into buying your products. That's something you should never really aspire to be perceived as. So we have then search engine optimization. Again, it's not used that much in Trinidad, as I don't think we use Google to the same degree to look up products and services, or suppliers of products and services, or goods and services. It is bigger in other countries, however, such as the USA, such as Canada, the UK, France, generally larger countries and economies. And as I said, it's about optimizing one's website position in Google and other search engines. Um, how this is done exactly is to manipulate the algorithms and keywords to ensure high place in search rankings. An algorithm is I'm not a mathematician, but I do know that an algorithm is kind of like a flow chart, which is a basic aspect of computer programming and has been for decades. So Google would use and manipulate and create new algorithms quite regularly, which would determine how information is searched online. So if you manipulate the new Google algorithms, which it regularly updates, you can ensure that your website reaches a relatively high place in the rankings. So of course, with better SEO, or sorry, I should say, with with good implementation of SEO, you would have better exposure, you would have more hits naturally, and of course that is the point of any website. It is to have as many people see it as possible. Um, you'd have better web or general digital return on investment, and as it's not used so much in Trinidad and Tobago, it probably is better utilized for firms that have global or hemispheric markets. So if you're a Trinidad-based firm and you sell products to the United States or Canada or other Caribbean countries or Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, etc., then as this is a far larger market of obviously hundreds of millions of people, then it's better suited in that sense. You'd have literally more people searching for your goods and services on Google. Okay, so we move on to pay-per-click. Pay-per-click is the use of advertising to gain extra revenue on websites and other media. A firm, therefore, when it uses pay-per-click or PPC, would pay another party to host its adverts and literally get paid in return by the number of clicks or hits it receives. This leads to more costs naturally. However, it would also be offset with higher sales as you would get more exposure of your website and your product offerings. There is a program that Google provides called AdWords, and through optimization in a very similar sense to SEO as mentioned prior, you can secure more hits and thus more potential sales. So it requires a good degree of skill in itemizing your good use of keywords. And keywords is obviously a very old concept in HTML or web design and development. It's about, okay, let's say for example you're running a pet food website. Obvious keywords would be cat, dog, um, hamster, snake, um, horse, etc. These are common pets that people may own. And also you would say horse stable, dog kennel, cat litter box. These would be common keywords which people would search for, and thus with better designed keywords you would gain more sales and thus more exposure. So with good PPC then, you'd have to have good content development to keep people engaged. You'd have to have better relationship marketing, I said engagement, and also facilitated by strong web and social content, as social media content. You have to have a good website. You have to have a website that is worth visiting, essentially, that people would want to visit, and that affiliates of whom you'll be paying would want to be linked to and frankly associated with. So again, better exposure may be afforded with PPC, and perhaps better for global or hemispheric markets, And of course, there is, as with everything, potential for growth in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. Okay, we move on to mobile apps. These are obviously things on Android and iOS, BlackBerry, Windows Phone, etc., which are better suited for the mobile format. So not just visually on a smartphone or a tablet, but provides information better suited to on-the-go users, which obviously a mobile or mobile users are. They're not fixed to one place by definition. So a mobile app is not absolutely required in your digital strategy. Nevertheless, with a Trinidad and Tobago has a reasonably high smartphone use. So there is natural potential. Plus we do have the links where the 4G public Wi-Fi to make it feasible. However, if your customers don't use smartphone, it doesn't make sense. This may be self-explanatory because if your specific target market doesn't really own or use smartphones, or your product can't be translated onto a mobile platform, then it's a waste of resources in that sense. As with all marketing period, you have to tailor it specifically or primarily to your target market's need, your customers' needs, then the organization's needs, but it also always must be directed chiefly to your customers. So with content development, we would itemize and disseminate good content to consumers. Content, therefore, is any text, video, audio like podcasts, highlighting the product, firm, or anything related to it. Um, there is a cliche, perhaps it is a cliche. Content is king. Personally, I don't believe it is a cliche. I think, as stated here, people need information to make buying decisions, or about the product generally, or about your organization. Good content, especially online, is the key as to how you would convey your product value and how you would essentially build relationships, build engagement, and make sales and make revenue. Your web copy has to be persuasive enough. Your social media has to be engaging enough. Your email list has to be engaging enough. So content really is king. The quality of your content is basic, is fundamental to how well your digital efforts and ultimately your marketing and organizational efforts will come across. Good content will make you win essentially. Bad content will make you lose. Content also does include blogging, and a good blog can relay stories, topical points, and again, it furthers engagement, it furthers interest. Blogging is an excellent tool for engagement because it relates to interest and two-way dialogue. And as stated here, well, I'll reiterate what I'm going to say. I do not believe it is a cliche to say that content is king. It is basic for the full conveyance of your product's value, and it is rudimentary. It is imperative to persuade and engage your customers. So, as with any plan, any strategy in life, you need to have a means to ensure that the strategy is sound and is actually working. And there are numerous tools out there which you can measure the strategic effectiveness. Of course, ROI always will be important, but then there are means where you can measure conversions, you can measure reach, how many people see your brand and talk about your brand. Plus, there are what you would call social listening tools. There are many good ones available on Google, and they can determine how many people on Twitter and other social networks respond to your brand, talk about your brand, retweet your brand, retweet your hashtags, talk about your hashtags. So in essence, then you are furthering your scope and furthering your engagement, and ultimately, of course, your sales. So this is again a rundown of who I am. I do run several private and voluntary projects, and again, I'm just looking to build a more complete dialogue and conversation on how to move digital forward in the country and the region. You can catch further such presentations and webinars on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. So until next time then, I hope you enjoyed this talk. I hope it was a good and sound introduction to the digital sphere, to the various arms of digital, to the purpose of digital, and how one can utilize its value to create value and sustain engagement and greater longevity, greater sales, greater profitability for your organization. So until next time, enjoy, share, be good to yourselves, and keep being digital.